So today let's talk about mortgages and the scam that it is. So mortgages obviously allow you to buy a house. You take a loan and from that you can buy a house. They've been around for about 100 years. But really, what is the main mortgage nowadays? And it's about 75% of the mortgage market in the US and a bit less in the UK. It is the 30-year mortgage. Now, the 30-year mortgage really was available from about the 1950s, but no one took it up. There was no need to. House prices were low. You didn't need 30 years to pay off a house. You could do it pretty easily. But as the house prices started getting higher and higher, as the fiat currency boom started occurring and they were printing money, so too you needed, obviously that goes into housing, and that means you needed more mortgage. Now, let's go when the first fixed interest mortgage in the UK happened, right? So in the UK first, it's only 2 to 5 years, right? There's no more than that. It's not like the US dream 30-year fixed. 2 to 5 years, it was started in 1988. And when that occurred, house prices, the average house price was £55,000, and the average loan to salary value you would get, your mortgage based on your salary, per month expense was 44% of your salary. Now it is £220,000. Yeah, right. But I mean, you find me a house in London for £220,000, but let's say it's £220,000, and the average is 53% of your salary goes to paying mortgage payments. So it's gone up significantly, and that's with a fake 220,000 number. Obviously that's much higher. Now, how much will you pay over the lifetime of that mortgage? So if you take this £220,000 mortgage, in a 25-year mortgage scenario, you pay back £400,000. In a 30-year scenario, you pay back £500,000. That's right, you pay more than double the value of your house over the lifetime of that. And so essentially, it is serfdom. It's serfdom through the back door. You sign up to being a serf. You sign up to basically having 53% of your income taken away every month, way worse than the serfs were. And in the end, you might get this tiny box that you will own after 30 years. That is what's being offered to you as a lifestyle choice. Now, let's see what the old pensioners who, moan about this and say, we had it much harder than you. Let's see what they say.
You don't like me?
No, I think you're really, really nasty to pensioners.
Why is it a young person's fault that house prices are so high?
Because most young people today, they want holidays, they want to keep drinking coffee all day, and I'm not being nasty.
Well, you are.
Right? They don't want to sit in and save up like I did for 4 solid years.
But Pat,
they want everything, and
wages,
also most of them are on 30 grand minimum.
Yes, true.
Right. And I paid 15% interest on my mortgage.
Yes.
Today they get 2.5%.
Yes, but the starting price of a house to get is now 8 times higher than the average salary. It was nowhere near that in your day.
Not other places in the country. Why don't they move somewhere where it's cheaper then?
Okay, well I'll put that to you. Why don't you move somewhere that's cheaper?
Because my son's here now, my grandchildren.
I know, but
he
young
needs me
people
to
would
look
say
after
that too. Their
them,
jobs
because they both have to work full time.
Listen, Pat, we're gonna agree to disagree on this one.
I know.
I'm not a fan of LBC. It's woke leftist craziness, but this guy had it spot on. It is much harder for the young, as I've just told you, 53% versus 44%. That's 1988. This one she probably bought in the 70s, where it was about 30%. But anyway, this is the kind of gibberish we're listening. Oh, the young, they're not saving enough. They're not saving enough. That's because they can't save, because rent prices are through the roof. That's why we've got the most amount of 30 and 40-year-olds still living with their parents, because it is impossible to even rent, let alone buy a house. In the 80s, there were plenty of social housing that you could rent for very cheap from the government. Those were all sold off by Thatcher, like a stupid person she was. She sold them all off, and so therefore now rent is through the roof, and there is no way that you can pay rent and also try and save for a deposit, which is now a million times higher than what she had to save for, and then get on the housing ladder, which you then have to take a 30-year mortgage for. So when is your life meant to start? If at 30 years old, let's say, eventually, you're earning just about enough money, you've paid off a lot, you're still paying off student loans, which have gone through the roof, you've done all this, at 30 years old, you don't have enough for a deposit. Let's add 40, you have enough for a deposit. That's 30 years, mate. You're 70 by the time you pay that off. That's insane. That's insane. And so that is the thievery of the mortgage market. It should never have been allowed to have 30-year mortgages. 10-year mortgages should be the cap. What would that do? That would bring houses price down, because no one would then be able to buy, no one would be able to sell. The prices would have to come down and everything would be great. But that is the problem with the fiat debt-based monetary system, that they need more debt. They cannot have lower debt being funded into the economy. They need house prices to go higher. And as I explained in the last video, what does that do? That causes all the money to pour into housing, which does nothing for anyone, just inflates housing prices. It extracts money from going to the productive economy and investments and making new businesses and starting new innovation, being tech-minded. They don't have the time. People are on this wheel, just going round and round, trying to pay off this, or trying to save for this crazy house price that has spiraled out of control because of a debt-based monetary system with wages that are capped to CPI, which is a joke compared to, it wouldn't even be RPI, it would be like house price inflation. That's what it really should be, inflation, and therefore your wages should be matched to that. But no, they keep it at CPI, which I don't even know how it goes up, because everything should be going down if you're only looking at consumer prices. But house prices always go up. That's not included in your salary, and therefore it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And there is no end in sight. And eventually, we've seen all the big firms come in, the big BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, the big hedge funds come in and start buying residential property, and you will be left, as Klaus said, you will own nothing, or you might own a little tiny little house, and you won't be very happy. That is the end game. That's why mortgages are a disease and need to be stopped. And they're about to offer 40-year mortgages. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.